We have started that Dr. Sudhir has decided to operate that person, that American. In spite of being his enemy, he decided to operate it. Okay. Now from page number 33. Okay. You will have to give him anesthetic if he needs, he said. Now what did Dr. Sudhir do? Okay. His wife is also, we know this thing that his wife is also assisting him. Fine. So here he just commanded his wife that she had to give anesthetic. Okay, if the person needs anesthetic, she had to give it. Okay, she repeated blankly, but never have I. Now what happened to Hannah? She became blank. Okay, she was a little surprised. Why? Because she has never ever done all these things, given anesthetic or just seeing an operation. She's never gone through all these situations. Okay, so she become blank and she said, "But I have never done this. I have never given an anesthetic to a patient. How can I do?" Okay, it is easy enough. He said impatient. And what did Dr. Sudhir do? He become a little impatient. Why? Because he needs someone to assist in the operation. And he was busy with the man. He was busy feeding the man, looking at his wounds and everything. So he became a little impatient in what he said that it is very easy to give anesthetic. So you have to give that. He was taken out of packing now, and the blood began to flow more quickly. Now, what happened, children? I told you that while they found this American on the beach, okay, at that time he was bleeding very badly. To stop the bleeding, what did Dr. Snow did? He just packed the wound with a sea moss. The sea moss, right? He just packed the wound with the sea moss. Remember? So now what happened? Now Dr. Snow, he just removed that packing, that sea moss from the bone. He peered into the bone with his bright surgeon light fastened on his forehead, and he just get a look of that bone inside the bone. He just peered inside the bone, that how deep the bone is. The bullet is still there, he said with full interest. And after peering inside the bone, what he found, the bullet is still there. Okay, it is still there in the body, in his body. Now I wonder how deep this God's rock. If it is not too deep, maybe that I can get the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much of his blood. Now Dr. Sudhir is talking to himself only. So he said the bullet is still there, and he said that I wonder, okay, that I told you that the beach in which that he found that American, that beach was a rocky beach, right? So now he was thinking that might be the rock had not stabbed him very badly. Might be he didn't get that because of that rock, that bullet has not gone much inside the body. Because if it is not too deep, then it is very easy for Dr. Sudhir to take that bullet out. Okay. Blood, on the other hand, he knows this thing, but the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much of his blood. But on the other hand, Dr. Sudhir knows this thing, that this person has lost much of his blood. Okay, and while he was so worried that this bleeding is not superficial and he's lost much of his blood because children, Dr. Sudhir is operating at his home. Okay, and he don't have that proper operation instruments and everything. Whatever he is having, he's just treating the patient with that. Okay, so that's why he said that the blood which he has lost is not superficial. At this moment, Hannah choked. He looked up and saw her face, the color of sun. Now, I told you, children, you came to know by reading that this Hannah, okay, she is not up to this situation. She has never given it anesthetic also. Now, after when the doctor Sudhir removed the packing from the sea moss from the bone and the blood started flowing, and seeing all these wounds and everything and the smell of the blood and the situation over there, she just choked. Okay? And her face has become the color of sulfur, means face become yellow, a dull and a pale face. Okay? Don't faint, he said. He did not put down his exploring instrument. Now what is there, children? Now he just when he looked at his wife, when Dr. Sudhir, he just looked at his wife, what he saw, that she was becoming pale and dull. So he said that don't faint. Okay? Why? Because he has put his instrument inside the body of the American. So if I stop now, the man will surely die. What he said, that if I remove the instrument right now, or if I stop the treatment, if I stop operating him, he will die. So don't faint. Okay? She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard her retching, but he went on with his work. What did his face become yellowish, pale? She slapped, she just covered her hands. Okay, she just covered her mouth with her hands and she just ran out of the room. Okay, now outside, Dr. Sudhav can hear that she was retching. Literally, she was vomiting. Okay, but still, Dr. Sudhav continued with his work because Dr. Sudhav cannot go there. Okay, he cannot go to his wife, cannot leave that operation in between and can go to his wife. So he continued with his work. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen an operation. Now, what is their children? For a few minutes, Dr. Suno has just forgotten that why his wife was doing vomiting, because she has never seen an operation in her life. Okay, and she has never gone through all these situations. That's why she became pale and she just went out and vomited. Okay, now this Dr. Suno has forgotten for a few minutes. He thought that it's better that she should empty her stomach. Now, why we think that she should empty her stomach? Children thought that there's a stomach infection. So we thought that it's better that she should empty her stomach. Okay. Why he was saying this? Because it was forgotten for a minute that this vomiting is not because of the stomach infection, but it is because that she has not seen an operation ever. Okay, so by seeing these operations, this blood and everything, she vomited. Okay, but her distress and his inability to go her at once made him impatient and irritable with this man who lay like dead under his knife. Now, what is their children? His wife was vomiting outside and he was not able to go. This made Dr. Sudhir a little impatient and as well as irritated. Okay, he became irritated with this patient. Okay, because because he knows this thing that he is treating his enemy. Okay, so now here this treating of enemy become more important than to go to his wife. So because of the situation created, okay, because of the situation that has been created there, he become little impatient, he become little irritated. He just get irritated with that man, with that American. This man, he thought, there is no reason under heaven why he should live. Now, what is he thinking? Just thought, Dr. Snow just thought that this man, there is no reason that I should save his life. Okay, why I am saving his life? He was my enemy. Okay, then why I am saving? By unconsciously, this man, this made him ruthless and he proceeded. Now, what happened, children? While thinking of this thing, that why I am saving his life, for a few minutes, this Dr. Sudhir, he became little rude, but only in his thoughts. Okay, he didn't show this irritation and rudeness in his operation. Okay, he's doing the operation very swiftly. He's proceeding with his work very swiftly. In his dreams, the man Sudhir paid no heed except to mutter at him. Now, what is there? In his dreams. In his dreams means when the man was still unconscious. So in the unconscious state, that man was mourning. Okay, he was crying out of pain. But Dr. Snow, he did not pay any attention towards the man. He did not pay any attention to him. Groan, he muttered, groan if you like. He said, just cry out of pain as much as you want. Okay, I didn't care for that. I'm not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I don't know why I'm doing it. He said that I am not doing your operation for my own pleasure. He said that I also don't know why I'm operating you. In spite of knowing this thing that you are my enemy, still I am operating you and I don't know the reason. Okay, I don't know the reason why I am operating you. Okay, so this things made Dr. Stowe a little irritated. The door opened and there was Hina. What happened to her at this time? Door opened and Hina came inside again. Where is the anesthetic? She asked in a clear voice. Now she is ready to give to his husband. She is ready to give her husband and she asked, where is the anesthetic? No motion with his chin. It is as well that you came back, he said. This man is beginning to say. Now what did the Dr. Snow did? Instead of only just with the gesture of his chin, he just gave an instruction that the anesthetic was lying there. Okay, he just instructed her where the anesthetic was lying. Okay, and he also told Hina that it's better you came back because the smell is beginning to set. Started coming into consciousness. Okay, it's getting consciousness knowledge. He was unconscious. So that it's better you can't came. Okay, because it's time to give him anesthetic. She had a bottle in some cotton in her hand. But how should I do? She asked. Now she is holding the bottle of anesthetic and a cotton in her hand. And she asked after slow because I told you that she has never gone through these situations. She has never given an anesthetic to a patient. So she asked that how shall I do? Just guide me. Simply sit with the cotton and hold it near his nostrils without delaying for one moment in the practice of his work. Involved in his work, and by that involvement only, he just instructed Dr. School, he just instructed Hannah that you just put the cotton, put some anesthetic in the cotton and hold the cotton near his nostrils. When he feeds back in which aware it, and again further he instructed that when this person started breathing very badly, he just recorded a little away. Okay, so here he is instructing about everything. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. Now she just bent down. Okay, she just bent down. I told you why she bent down, because the interior of that room. Okay, there is no bed or anything. Only the thick mattresses were there. Okay, so she just bent down towards that American. It was a pitilessly thin face, she thought, and lips were crisp. And when she looked at his face, at the face of the American, she thought that his face was very pity. Okay, she started feeling pity for him. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. And Hannah also thought this thing that this man is in pain. Okay, still he is unconscious, but he is in pain. Okay, watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes if the sufferings of prisoners were true. Now looking at the face of that American, what did Hannah started thinking? She started thinking that they have heard the stories that in the Japanese prison, okay, these prisoners are being treated very badly. They had been tortured. She started thinking that are these stories true? Okay, they came like figures of humor, told by the word of mouth and always contradicted. What is their children? These things are spoken by the people only. The people used to discuss with each other regarding the torture which is given to the prisoners in the Japanese. If she was thinking of all that things that are these stories are true, because why in the newspapers the reports will always that whenever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly with cries of joy at their liberation. So why she was saying in the earlier paragraph, she said that these stories are always contradicting. Why they were contradicted? Because they were always spoken by the people. She has only heard these stories of prisoners. Okay, that the prisoners are being treated very badly, they are being tortured in the prisons of Japan. So she has heard these stories only by people, by the mouth of the people. And these stories are always contradicted. Why they were contradicted? Because in the newspapers always used to print the good things about the Japanese army. Okay, they used to print that wherever the Japanese army went, people used to welcome them very gladly. Okay, so that's why these things are contradicted. But sometimes she remembers such a man, General Takuma, who at whom age his wife told. There is no one mentioned it now, though he fought so victoriously or better off Manchuria. What is their children? Now she remembered one instance also. There was a general. What he used to do, he used to beat his wife very cruelly at home. And this thing is also told by the people only. Okay? Because in the newspapers they used to print that about the victorious battles which is fought by General Takima. Okay, so General Takima has fought the Battle of Manchuria. the victory, he gained victory at that time. The newspaper used to print only these things. Okay, they never used to print the things which are happening in the personal as well as the things which are actually happening in the prisons of Japan. So that's why these things are a little contradictory for her. If a man like that would be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to the would he not be cruel to one like this? For instance, she started thinking that if a person is so cruel with his wife, okay, obviously he would be cruel with the prisoners also. Okay, so she was thinking all these things that the people there, okay, they have told us things that these things, these torture things are happening to the prisoners in the jails, in the Japanese jails, but still that things have never been in the newspaper. That's why they are contradicted. Why she was thinking all these things, why she was thinking about General Fatima and all, because she started feeling pity for that for American, okay, about that injured American. She hoped anxiously that this young man had been tortured. Now she just hoped that this young man had not been tortured. She was just thinking that whatever I have heard, if the things are true, then also she was wishing that this man had not been tortured like other prisoners. At this moment, she had observed the deep red scars on his neck just under her ear. And at that moment, what happened to her? She observed deep scars on her under her near ear. Okay, on his neck, she observed the scars there. Okay, those scars, she murmured, lifted her eyes to Sudhir. And she just looked at Sudhir and she wants to inquire, wants to tell him about that scars which were there. But he did not answer. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the pit. And what happened when she just got Sugav to look at that scars? Sugav did not answer. Why? Because his instrument is stuck near the kidney. Okay, towards a thing. What was that? On a bullet. So his instrument was stuck on a bullet. The bullet was just near the kidney. Okay, all thought left him. He felt only the purest. Now he was not listening anything. He was not thinking anything. He was very happy that finally he had found the bullet. He probed his fingers delicately, familiar with every atom of his body. There he was I told you he was a very good surgeon. Okay, so he was very familiar with every atom of the body. He was very familiar with every body parts which are there. So that's why without the proper instruments and without proper operation theater and everything, he came to know that the bullet was near the kidney. Okay, his old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge. Ignorance of the human body, surgeon's garden sincere, that thundered at his classes year after year. What is there? There is a professor of anatomy, and that professor has used to say in his classes, he had said in his classes every year he used to tell his students what he used to say that if you are a surgeon and you don't have the complete knowledge of a human body, you don't know how to operate, you don't know the body parts, you are not familiar with the body parts of a human body parts, then you are doing a sin. You are performing a surgery without knowing about the body parts, then you are what of a human being, then you are what? You are performing a sin, you are doing a sin. Okay? To operate without a complete knowledge of a body as if you have made it anything less than it. That is not what he said. He also said this thing that he used to say that if you are operating a person without the complete knowledge, okay, you are operating a person without your complete knowledge, then what is there? You are doing a murder of a person. You are equal to a murderer. Okay, as you don't know that the importance of each and every body part. It is not quite educating, my friends, what that Siddhar said, that my friend, it is not at the kidney. Friend, he said this word friend, in spite of it, he was his enemy. Why? Just look. It was his habit to murmur to the patients when he forget himself in an operation. My friend, he always calls his patient, and so he did, forgetting that this was his enemy. Now, what is their children? Why he called this enemy as a friend? Because it is a habit. He he has a habit that he used to talk to the patients while doing the operation. Dr. Sudhav had this habit, and he used to call my friend to every patient who he is operating. Okay, so here also he was so indulged in his operation that he just thought that this is not his friend but his enemy. So he treated him as a friend. Okay, just because of his habit which is there. Then quickly and quickly his most precise of his bullet was out, and then very quickly and very easily, just very safely, he just out of that body of Dr. A man. A man quit but he was still unconscious. That what happened? Now that man, he muttered something. Okay, he quit with pain, but still he was unconscious. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words, and he just spoke some few English words. In spite of it, he was still unconscious. Guts, he muttered, choking. They got my guts. What he said, guts here means the stomach. And also what he said that they have taken out my guts. Now what it shows is that he is being tortured very badly. Okay. Sudhav and I cried sharply. Hush, Sudhav said. Now when I want to know that he was speaking. Okay, she become a little afraid. He just asked Sudhav and Sudhav told her to be quiet. The man said again into silence so profound that Sudhav took up his wrist, hating the touch of it. Yes, there was still a pulse, so faint, so feeble, but enough if he wanted the man to live to give hope. Now, what is there, children? This man so silent. He just got after speaking these words, he again become unconscious. He became so silent. So, what did Dr. Sudhav do? He just hold his wrist. He was not liking to hold it. Then, too, he just touched that person. He just checked it. And there was a pulse, but that pulse is very weak. It is faint. Very weak. And what did he say? He wanted the man to live, to give. He said that this much pulse is enough. This man wants to live. Okay? But certainly, I do not want this man to live, he thought. But now he was thinking that I don't want this man to live. Why he was thinking this thing that he don't want this man to live, children? Why? Because what is there, children? If this man is going to live, fine. So he was being killed by the Japanese army. No more anesthetic, he told him. And he told him that now don't give any more anesthetic. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines a small veil, and from it filled it with hydromatic and thrust it into the patient's left arm. Now what he did, he turned towards the medical kit. He take out a bit of a vibration and just put that infection on the patient's left arm. Then putting down the needle, he took the man's wrist again. Pulse under his fingers fluttered once or twice and then grew stronger. He again checked the pulse of that apparatus, and the pulse once or twice it fluttered and then it was growing. Okay. Up till here, any doubt, children? Any doubt up till here, children? Anybody is having any doubt up till here? You can unmute yourself and you can ask your doubt.